Congressman, good to have you. I don't know whether you had a chance to hear some of that with your colleague, Ro Khanna, about finding a way to offer credits and the like to help small businesses absorb that higher minimum wage. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a nice gesture, but at the end of the day, this $15 minimum wage number is too high. I don't believe it's going to get bipartisan support. It doesn't even have all of the support of the Democrats in the Senate, and I think Democrats in the House know that, and so they're trying to come up with these carrots to get a little more support on the side of their policy. But what the issue is, I think, is that we have seen this COVID relief bill come forward. Only 9%, less than 10% of what's in this bill will actually go to coronavirus relief. And that's the frustration in the Republican conference on both sides of the chamber, that so much of this bill is waste. I saw a very interesting proposal from Mr. Romney and Mr. Cotton today with respect to the minimum wage, settling on a $10 figure, but also tying it to E-Verify. I would be interested in something like that if we are absolutely set on raising the minimum wage over time, if we tie it to E-Verify and actually have a disincentive for cheaper labor, which is the whole reason we're talking about this minimum wage in the first place, then I think that might be something that would get some Republican support.
Congressman, you mentioned Mitt Romney, and as you know, is a column in the Wall Street Journal talking about this package being a clunker. He's referring to the whole stimulus plan because so much of it is spending that you don't need, and a lot of that, despite the trumped-up headlines to get it out there right away, is $700, $800 billion worth that can't be touched until next year. So, given that, are you a no as things stand now in the House?
Absolutely. If Senator Mitt Romney thinks this is a bad bill and it's too liberal for him, you can bet that the rest of the Republican conference in both chambers is against this bill. And it's a real shame because prior coronavirus relief packages in the last year of President Trump's term were bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats were willing to work together. President Trump was willing to accept a compromise. President Biden has not gone down that path. He wants what he wants, and he wants this high figure, and it's so bad that not even all Democrats are yet on board. And I think that as the days progress, and back to your bird comment, as people flock toward the Senate, I think that we will see less support in a bipartisan manner unless we cut some of this pork out of this bill, unless we get away from this $15 minimum wage talk that's just too high, and it doesn't do anything to combat the wage earners, or excuse me, the low salaries and the low wages that are the reason we're talking about this increase in the first place.
You know, Congressman, I see your point there, but I mean, we talk about big pieces of legislation. Oftentimes there isn't bipartisan support. In the beginning for the Trump tax cuts, it was all Republican votes, not a single Democratic vote. For Obamacare, all Democratic votes, not a single Republican vote. And you know, this history exists that on big pieces of legislation, it's all or none. Does that disturb you? Does that, make you wonder whether bipartisanship will ever return on this and other matters, infrastructure for which we're told there is bipartisan support, but it never materialized?
No, it doesn't disturb me because everything you just mentioned are examples of big policy proposals that were instrumental in the campaigns of the people that got elected. What you're talking about, though, and what I've been talking about is something in response to a national emergency, a national crisis, and that's what we're in right now. We're trying to defeat the coronavirus. This is not just a tax cut. This is not Obamacare. This is a national crisis, and in the last year, this country has come together. Congress has come together. In the last year of the Trump presidency, we came together, and I think Congress is ready to come together now, and we need President Biden to lead and put forward a proposal that we can come across the aisle and support in a bipartisan manner. This is very different than past take it or leave it policies where there was no bipartisan support. The coronavirus legislation over the last 7 to 8 months has historically been more or less bipartisan, and I think this should be as well.
All right. Congressman, thank you. The one bird analogy is very good, but Brady, to your point, this whole process is for the birds, so I'll try to have the last word on that. Congressman, seriously, very good having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very, very good.